What's up, Ken? Good morning.
So I'm 29 years old. I've kept quite a dark secret all these years. And you're honestly this is the first time I've really ever even spoke of this. So I've seen counselors and therapists, not too many over the years, but in my 20s, I've seen a couple, and I still never had the courage to really talk of it. So now it's been eating at me all these years, and I've just decided that because my life is where it's at right now and some of the habits and the problems I face day to day, I feel like because of this problem I faced as a child that it might have something to do with it. So basically what happened
Hold on. Before you tell me what you're about to tell me, that's quite the setup here. So why me? Why did you choose to, whatever's been hanging on for 30 years now, 3 decades, why now? Why me?
Well, because, I've really enjoyed seeing you on Dave Ramsey's show. I really taken a liking to the things that you have to say to callers, and I like your insight. And I feel like saying this over the phone and not face-to-face to somebody I don't know at all was a little bit easier.
Okay. All right. Well, I don't know where you're about to head with this, but I appreciate your trust, and go for it. So tell me what you've been sitting on.
So basically, when I was about 4 or 5 years old, I was sexually molested by my older brother for quite some time.
Ah, man, I'm so sorry.
Thanks. And it was so weird. I remember it so vividly, but at the same time, it's so foggy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if my family really knows about it. I think they do. I have 4 older brothers. I'm the youngest of 5 boys. And I remember it happening over and over while I shared a room with my older brother, and I don't know why we shared a room. I don't understand it because he's the second oldest and I'm the youngest, so I don't really know how that worked out or whatever, but I do recall it just ending one day. It just ended.
What was the age difference between you and your brother?
So he is 7.5 years older than me.
Okay.
So nothing too significant, but...
Well, that's a lot. That's a whole lot. Especially if you're talking about 3, 4, and 5, and 10, 11, and 12. That's a big gap. What makes you think that folks in your family knew or know about this?
Because I remember it ending abruptly one day, and I have this vision. I'm not sure if it's a dream of this vision, but I remember my mom yelling at my older brother at one moment because I feel like maybe another brother of mine kind of found out or saw what was possibly going on and then told my mom, but I never spoke to my mom about it. I never spoke to anybody about it. And my mom has since passed away, and I get really upset that I never talked to her about it, and I don't want to bring it up to anybody now, especially my brother, because of how awkward it may be or how, I feel like he's kept this inside too. So
as we dig into this, I need you to remember one key important thing. Somebody took something from you, and from this point forward, you are in control of the narrative. You are in control of the way this plays out. Okay? And I want you to know that it's noble and kind to think about his feelings. It's noble and kind for you to think about what he might be going through. But the reality is, people who suffer abuse at the hands of loved ones often spend their life trying to make sure everybody else is okay.
Yeah.
And the one person they don't make sure is okay is them. And so I'm giving you permission. You don't need my permission, but I'm giving it to you anyway, that it's time for you to start caring for you. Okay?
Okay.
And it sounds like over the years you've dabbled in talking to professionals. You've hemmed and hawed around it because you know you weren't well. You knew something was gnawing on you inside. And now it's time to decide whether, you know what, the way things are, just having said it out loud on the radio in front of millions of people, that's out there, I feel better now, or you're going to go be about healing. And it may or may not end up in sitting down and talking with your brother about what happened. So circling back, now that you know, like you're in control, you've said it out loud. There's several traumas here. One is, being sexually abused by someone who loves you, your older brother. That's big. Number two, almost as bad, if not worse. Because again, your brother's 11, your brother's 12, your brother's 13 during this stuff. I'm not letting him off the hook, but he also is a child, right?
Right.
As bad, if not worse, is the thought that my adult mom knew this was happening and didn't do anything. Or my adult mom did know this was happening. She put a stop to it, but never stopped to ask me if I was okay.
Right.
And Ken, that's not okay that happened to you. That's wrong and that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
And so you've said it out loud, and I know I'm just assuming here, you have fantasized about that conversation with your mom. You fantasized that conversation about with your brothers. You fantasized about having a conversation with the actual brother who hurt you. So I ask you this, what do you want to do?
Well, getting the courage to speak to you today about this was difficult enough, but I do feel like a weight has fallen off my shoulders.
Do you feel different than before you said that out loud?
Yeah.
Describe that to people listening, because there are millions of people who have suffered things that can't bring themselves to say it out loud. And people don't realize what it feels like to just set that cinder block down for a second.
Yeah. I mean, I really feel like I was just carrying a backpack full of cinder blocks all these years. I really do. And it feels really good to just say it out loud. I've kept this secret suppressed for all these years, my entire life, essentially.
Yeah.
And just saying it makes me feel like a whole different person.
Well, I appreciate your trust here, man. And I appreciate your bravery. And so going back, what do you want to do now?
Well, I haven't given it a whole lot of thought because I never thought I'd really get the courage to tell you.
Yeah.
But I do feel like I want to discuss this with at least my other brothers first before I approach the brother that did this to me, because I'm a little closer to my other brothers than I am him. But I really don't know. I really don't want to. My dad's still around and alive, but I really don't want to talk to him about it. We're not very close anyway. But I would like to approach my other brothers and just see if it's something that they were ever aware of, or But I really don't want to drive a wedge between my brother and the other ones, either. And
so a couple of things here. Number one, you're not driving a wedge. That wedge was driven by somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? And it's not your responsibility to continue to make sure your other brother's okay.
Mm-hmm.
It is important to remember that he was a child, too.
Right.
Right? But the wedge has been driven.
Okay.
I want to ask you, what do you want to accomplish by having the conversation? And there's not a right or wrong answer to this. But do you want ultimately him to say he was sorry? Do you want him ultimately to acknowledge that he hurt you and that he wished he hadn't? What are you hoping to get to? Do you want to see him go to jail? What do you want to see happen?
I don't want anything negative to happen to him, and I certainly don't expect an apology because I realize he was a child as well. I guess my main motivator would be to figure out if this was if this event that happened had any bearing on the way I am today as far as my own issues, my own sexual problems that I may face today with my own self. Did that event have any cause on this, the way I am?
So what sexual problems do you have now?
Well, growing up, I always had this thought of teeter-tottering on whether or not I was gay.
Right.
I never felt the urge per se, but I always thought maybe I was.
Yep.
I've never done anything physical with another man, but I've always had that thought like maybe I am. And I've always had girlfriends. I have a girlfriend now.
Mm-hmm.
And, I always thought, what if I'm bisexual? What if this? What if that? Because of this event, because it screwed up my whole head.
Yeah.
I have porn addiction, pornography I watch often. I somewhat abuse alcohol, not terribly, but I somewhat abuse it because I have an addictive personality.
Yeah.
So I just wonder if these issues are because of this.
I think it's a futile exercise to look for a particular pinpoint cause of X and Y and Z. I also think the answer to all of those questions is going to be in some shape, form, or fashion, yes. One of the most damning things about sexual abuse, about abuse of any kind, is it makes you start doubting yourself. It plants all kinds of different questions and seeds in your heart and mind that wouldn't have been there in the first place. And it fractures connection because it weaponizes relationships, right? Your body begins to associate closeness and love with hurt. And the only thing that keeps us well is relationships. That's it. And that's the demon. That's the forest fire that will rage through family trees for years, is disconnection. It makes us anxious, and it makes us depressed, and it makes us look to shut off those alarms with varying sorts of addiction. And you just named several of them, right? It makes us not trust ourselves and spend our whole lives performing to make sure everyone around us is okay. And it's exhausting, right?
Oh, big time.
Yeah. And so you can take this for what it is. You have permission to do whatever you want to do in this situation, okay? Before you go meet with your other brothers, I would recommend sitting down with a counselor that you trust and being honest for the first time. Being absolutely honest.
Okay.
I want you to mention to that counselor your plan to go to your other brothers before you're the offending brother. Without knowing more about your family dynamics. And again, we only have 10 minutes or 15 minutes here on the radio. I feel like going directly to that brother after you've got some healing and some very specific questions to ask that you can work through with a trauma counselor. And again, this isn't a lifetime event. I think you can go meet with somebody and get through some I think you can meet with somebody and get to some specific questions and goals very quickly. You're a real articulate guy. You've obviously thought through this for a long, long time. But I want you to recognize what's about to happen to you, okay? You put this out there. You've said it now. Once you take the lid off this thing, you're going to be filled with rage that you've been keeping down for a long, long time. You're going to be filled, and you're going to have rage, and it's going to spew at everybody, okay? You are going to continue to look at every single disagreement in your life and want to blame and push and point. Some of that will be accurate, some of it won't. And you're going to feel things that you haven't ever felt because they've been buried underneath this deal, okay? That's why it's real important to have somebody to walk with you during this next season.
Okay.
And it's not it's not a lifetime of you're going to be in therapy for the rest of your life. That doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to heal relationships. But it does mean that by taking the cover off this thing, you're going to have to deal with some stuff you haven't dealt with. You're probably going to have some regrets that you've made in your life that you're going to have to work back through and forgive yourself for. And you might need to end up calling your girlfriend and saying, I'm sorry about some things. Letting her in on this conversation, right?
Right.
But at some point, sitting down with your offending brother, if he'll have the conversation, when you're ready to rock and roll, that may be real healing for you. And after meeting with a counselor and talking through specifically what happened, going through a trauma narrative, learning some coping skills that don't involve pornography, that don't involve alcohol, that don't involve yelling and flying off the handle or whatever other challenges you experience, you may realize, dude, I'm not going to have a conversation with him. There's no need to. There's no need to.
Right.
I'm not going to get the closure I was looking for. I'm not going to get the apology that I desperately want. Or maybe you will. Right?
Right.
But
that's true.
But I want you to keep in mind you're in control of how this plays out. But I also want you to keep in mind that now that you said it out loud, there's going to be some instant release, some instant, like you said, bricks down. You're going to put those cinder blocks on the ground. And now the real work is going to start. Because now you've acknowledged it. And I want you to be a good steward of you, Ken. I want you to love my buddy Ken for the first time. And I want you to start by asking somebody who's a professional to walk alongside you, and you got to be honest with them.
I will certainly do that.
Okay? I
really appreciate it.
I'm proud of the call. I'm proud of your bravery. And if you were just walking out to take the trash out tonight and you burst out into tears, I want you to know that's okay. And if your girlfriend calls tonight and says, hey, I can't get together tonight, let's do it tomorrow, and you just feel rage race through your body, I want you to know that's okay. It's how you handle it on the back end that's going to determine character, right? But now you're just taking step one of a long healing process, okay?
Okay.
As you make your way through this, I want you to reach out to me, Ken. I want to know how the conversation with the counselor goes. I want to know a month from now, a couple of weeks from now, as you begin to wrestle with this and you start to imagine sitting down at a table in your living room with your brother, what that conversation will be like. And let's keep talking. Let's keep talking because I want to hear how this thing plays out. I want to honor your bravery, brother. And, man, I'm proud of you for saying it out loud. I'm proud of you for taking that cinder block out of your backpack that somebody else put in there and just setting it down. Setting it down and not carrying it anymore. My hope is that the spring returns to your step, a spring that you may have never known, Ken. And you're able to connect with your girlfriend. You're able to stop having intimacy with fantasies with people on a computer. And you're able to have intimacy with real people in real life. And that's going to be a process. You're going to have to learn how to do that. You're going to be able to quit drinking when you get scared, quit drinking when you feel alone, quit drinking when you feel shame, and be able to lean into real people. And you're going to have to learn how to do that because that was taken from you at a young age. And I hope that you get to a place of forgiveness. And that's the last final brick to set down. But the healing starts today, my brother, and I'm proud of you, Ken. I'm proud of you. We'll be thinking about you and we'll be praying for you and your family, my friend.